As we sit in our homes isolated due to the nature of this quarantine, it can feel like we're sitting still, stationary. In actuality, you're not. You're on a planet that's rotating on its axis at 1,000 miles per hour. And like clockwork, it makes one full revolution every 24 hours. If that's not amazing enough, planet Earth is moving around the sun at speeds approaching 67,000 miles per hour. So the next time you feel like you haven't been very productive at home during quarantine, remind yourself that you did travel more than 1.5 million miles through space today. Cut yourself a little slack. Now that we have all that in mind, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you lost sleep because you were concerned about the God of the universe keeping the planets in orbit? When was the last time you got on your knees at night and prayed, Lord, thanks for keeping the planets going? I was really nervous this time, but you did it again. Kudos. The answer, I'm guessing, is never. You've never done that. You see, we don't doubt God's ability to keep the planets going, but we struggle to trust if God can keep us going. You tell me, which is more difficult, keeping the planets spinning on their axis or keeping you going? The truth is, we already trust God to handle the big things. Now we need to trust God to take care of the little things too. The little things like what our future will look like after all this is over, whether our family members or ourselves will get sick from all of this, whether we can keep our financial situations afloat during this difficult time. For some of you students, if our college plans are still going to happen after all this is over. If we're ever going to stop feeling alone, scared, and helpless. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm certainly not saying that any of these things are small or insignificant. They're mountains of the highest caliber to us, but to God, they can be molehills. In the book of Revelation, yes, that big scary one at the end of your Bible that you sometimes forget exists, there's this moment where Jesus refers to himself as the Alpha and the Omega. He, in fact, says it 4 times in chapter 1, verse 8 and 11, chapter 21, verse 6, and chapter 22, verse 13. Now, for those of you who aren't Greek scholars, Alpha and Omega are the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet. Here, Jesus is making a big, bold, italicized, and underlined comment that he's God. The big G-O-D, the first, the last, and everything in between. This statement by Jesus means a lot of things, but one of the biggest things is that he's saying that he was at the beginning of all of it, and he's going to be here well after. Like a Marvel end credit scene, Jesus will be here long after the credits have rolled. It's the equivalent of him saying he's always existed and he always will exist. And this is potentially one of the biggest flexes and mic drops imaginable. John reiterates this statement when he says about Jesus that through him all things were made, and without him nothing was made that has been made. John chapter 1, verse 3. As God, Jesus has no beginning and certainly no end. In essence, he ain't going nowhere. And what does this mean for me and you, the average Joe? Well, Jesus as the Alpha and Omega means he's the author and the finisher of our faith, as Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2 reminds us. He wrote the book. He knows all the spoilers. He's the answer to every mystery that's in the scriptures, both the law and the gospel, so you can find him in the good book. And in case you're wondering where, he's found in the first verse of Genesis and the last verse of Revelation. He's the first word of salvation and hope and the last one on peace and redemption. And right now, this means that for all you control freaks out there, myself included, it's going to be okay. God's got this. The same God who set the planets in motion will keep them spinning until the wheels fall off. The same God who was there at the beginning of the book is going to carry us through the end. The same God who built this ship is going to carry us and captain us through uneasy waves. The same God who set the stage is going to lead us through each act all the way to curtains. Rest easy, because your God has got this. Your God is in control. Jesus is in control.